The Garland of Gurus sings, Invocation to the Guru. To save from dire despondency those who yearn for, and yet are far, far from the goal of final freedom, this lamp of Guru's wisdom, lit to put to flight the illusion of I and mine, shines as the very self. While I lay writhing in the body, mistaking it for me, the gracious, silent Guru took pity on me. It made me see that I was not this form, inert, decaying, but imperishable true awareness. With his twin feet, I crowned my head. The sage accomplished, who reveals with clarity and certitude the ultimate truth, which reconciles all the discordant creeds and doctrines, his feet my head wears as a crown. Name and genesis of this treatise. Not my poor mind, unlit by any vision of truth, but Master Ramana's bright eternal wisdom is the flame that shines clear in this lamp of Supreme Being. The gracious Master, the embodiment of the one bright true being awareness, uttered many sayings for dispelling ignorance. Some of these I treasured in my memory, and I repeat here in this treatise. In the non-dual state wherein abiding, Ramana made me his, where he and I together shared a common being, I learnt the truth supreme, transcendent, which I hope here to expound a little. My God, my Guru, Ramana cleared my mind of the dense ego cloud, and graciously revealed to me the truth transcendent. 'Tis this vision splendid that with loving care I weave into this garland fair. This treatise but restores. The Self-Supreme stands ever as all things everywhere. One does not reach it. This lamp of being supreme only reveals what is, free from all waves of dharma and kama. The self, pure being that shines as bliss, is the sole home of all the worlds, here and hereafter. Prompt and proper restoration to the self is what this treatise offers, not ways dubious to some distant goal. Author's humble apology. Garland of Gurus sayings, this rhyming treatise was not thought out or sung by me, this half-wit. Vedanta, the pure one, thought free sang, it seems, and so it came to be. For what I have not with my mind composed, why humbly apologize. Responsibility for this old treatise rests with him, the Master, known in the pure heart's blissful silence. Dedication. She gave me birth, and gave me, thus, freedom from ignorance. Bliss eternal, to this most innocent mother of mine, to her dear memory, is this treatise duly dedicated. The author. Some sayings of the Guru, Kanamuraga, stored and strung together, as a garland bright of being supreme. His eye of grace at his Master's feet had found the meaning, beauty, and bliss of all this universe. Part 1. The Quest. Invocation. The ocean-girdled maiden Earth's hard, long penance has borne fruit. Pure being, glorious Shiva himself, embodied in human form as Guru Ramana of flawless wisdom, has come to us. Let us, in the heart, cherish his sacred feet. One of the benedictions fits this garland of Guru sayings, which seeks to dispel delusion. That one word is I, the self, abiding in every being as the heart. Awareness pure, true being, shining in silence, self-experience of the real I behind the false, conceptual I, is God transcendent. With this feet we crown our heads. To those who look within, the highest good gained by the Master's grace is wakeful sleep, the Turiya state, the undying flame, the sweet uncloying fruit forever fresh. Heart free from liking and disliking, form calmly with comeliness of perfect wisdom, he, my master, the goal of all true goodness, has destroyed my ignorance and fear. His feet are my last refuge. Actuality of the world. From cause alone proceeds effect. The big world, which the scriptures say is only names and forms, proceeds from pure awareness, which is real, clear as the berry in one's palm. Hence you may say this big world too is real. Considering that the primal cause of all three or all seven worlds exist unbroken, all these worlds have also some reality. But when this form derivative is viewed as infinite and eternal, the ground, the whole, awareness pure, seems to be non-existent, void. For those who take the world appearance as real and enjoy it, it is the Lord's creation. But for those who, free from fear, have known the truth, the undiluted self, it is no more than a mere mental image projected by desire. The world of trivial names and forms, perceived by the five senses, is a mere appearance in the self, awareness pure. It is the sport of Maya, of images projected by the mind, itself a thought arising in being awareness. Seers who know the self as pure awareness know that nothing but the self exists. They cannot treat as wholly real the world that has no being in the sight of God Supreme. Like the hopeful parrot hovering round the silk cotton tree's red flower, you yearn, my friend, for the world of sense, mistaking it for something real. If seeming be the same as being, then sure, the mirage in the desert would be water. From your true being as awareness, alienated and deluded, do not pursue appearances, deeming them as real. They are false, since disappear they must, but your own being as awareness is real and cannot cease to be. The world by the elusive mind perceived is not. By the mind's source, the self-perceived. How can it, then, this poor world, claim reality? Be not afraid of this base, trivial samsara, which like dreams and sleep appears in nescience, a dark shadow, caused by the mind's desire. It cannot stand the true loving splendor of pure awareness. Ye, who in fear shrink from the world, know that the place has no existence. Fear of this phenomenal world is like being frightened by a rope, mistaken by you for a snake. The world appears distinctly only in wakefulness and dream, with concepts filled. In concept-free, all empty sleep one sees no world, so then conceptual is the world's whole substance. The world we see so clear is only thought projected. If sometimes the world appears before us dreamlike, in samadhi thought-free too, it is only the persistent power of images already formed. Even like the spider spreading out its web from its own mouth and then withdrawing it into itself, the mind, which brings out blossom-like the world, ingathers it again. When the mind through the brain and senses outward turns, the names and forms are from within thrust out, and when the mind at rest abides within the heart, they enter and lie buried there again. By names and forms the universe is split into objects. When these names and forms are whisked away, pure being, Brahman, abides, concealing God with these conceptual names and forms. The poor fool is deluded into seeing a world of which, alas, he is afraid. The mind, bewildered, which mistakes the body for oneself, conceives the transient world of names and forms, makes it seem real and lovable, and promptly entraps one in the strong, elusive bondage of desire. The empirical world of jostling names and forms is false and has no real existence in bright full awareness. Like a ring of fire formed in the dark when one whirls past a glowing joss stick, 'tis an illusion, mind-created. O worldly-minded fool, who cannot understand the proper teachings of great sages, this whole bloated world beheld by jaundiced eyes, when closely scanned, is but a trick played by your own vasanas, nothing more. One ever-present pure awareness, this alone has true existence. The world perceived and measured by you is but illusion, jaundiced yellow, caused by the ego's concepts, faults, and treacherous desires. As yellow fades and disappears, in sunlight this world disappears in pure awareness. Hence it is not of the sun god's making. Rather, 'tis picture seen in the peacock's plumage, an image of the lady, mind. Seen in the light of self-experience, all this phenomenal world is mere appearance, like the sky's deep blueness, when the deluded, body-bound ego perceives out there a mind created, nothing more. This villainous vast world so false, that cheats and churns the minds of all, how did it come to be? By nothing else but by the fault of falling from the self instead of clinging firmly to it. This earthly life, kept fueled by desires and dislikes, this empty dream in Maya's slumber dreamt, seems so real while asleep, proves empty nothing on waking up. When in awareness pure supreme the mind is merged and lost, then all three drives, desiring, doing, knowing, are seen as but conceptual movements in the one self's abiding being as awareness, and hence slip away and bind no more. Shiva, supreme awareness being, alone abides. The ground, the screen, the world of triads is but the picture of moving on the screen, and the play of Shakti, supreme awareness active. The world, like snake in rope, thief in a stump, mirage in air, has no real existence. Seeming to be, mere appearance is its nature. As several ornaments appear in gold and share its glitter, all beings, moving and unmoving, appear in self alone and shine as such. Apart from self, nothing exists. By this world, that world is concealed. By this world is by that concealed. Names and forms one sees, or else one sees pure being awareness bliss. Looking at a granite dog, one sees the dog or else the stone, not form and substance both together. The world that hides the self is but a dream. When the phenomenal world is hidden by the self's bright light, awareness pure the self abides. This whole elusive world of triads, seeming unmistakably real, is nothing but the self supreme, nothing but the form of Shakti, play of awareness whose eternal ground and substance is the self. Like the bright flame by smoke concealed, awareness is by names and forms concealed. When by her grace light comes, the world is seen as bright awareness too, not a mere cloud of names and forms. To seers established in awareness pure, The basis of all knowledge, all these worlds are but the self, and hence, as such, are real. How can the ignorant understand the true being behind them all? Only those who have utterly renounced the world and all attachment, and rejoicing in self-luminous awareness, have minds pure and free from Maya's power. Only they know the true sense in which the world is real. If one with mind turned towards awareness, and concentrating on awareness seeks the self, the world, made up of ether and other elements, is real. As all things are awareness, this one sole substance of true being. This world, which seems to be a sea of sorrow, is transformed into an ocean filled with bliss transcendent if one's defective vision is corrected, and one sees it fresh with the clear eye of true awareness as the form of the Supreme. Still, waveless being awareness bliss alone is what the true seer sees, and is. Since seer and sight are one, it follows surely that this world is also being awareness bliss. The nature of this mind-created world, now seen in dream light dim, is truly known only in that bright being awareness which transcends the mind's illusion. Fond, foolish mind, deluded daily by dreams woven out of your own stuff, if but you know your own true strength, say, could this world exist outside the one being awareness bliss? The void world, variegated, vast, sprang from one sole eternal bliss, as from one egg the multicolored peacock. See this truth, abiding as the self alone. Those who have sought and gained the goal of true awareness do not see this world as variegated forms. The whole world, filled with the crowds of objects, is for them but the gracious play of one sole Shakti, one sole power, the power of pure awareness. The perfect jnani, who is free from the inveterate body-bound ego, and now abides as true awareness, perceives this world as but awareness bright, his own sole being. It is an error, then, to view the world as something other than awareness. With mind turned inward, drown the world in the great void, dispel illusion. Beholding then the void as void, destroy the void by drowning it in the deep ocean of self-awareness. If you abide at heart established as being awareness, which shines also as this world, then this world becomes one with yourself, its frightening false duality having disappeared. He who sees this phenomenal world as all awareness, self-awareness, this sage indeed enjoys with all five senses fully his own self. The unreality of the world. Some assert this world before our eyes lacks permanence. 'Tis true, but it is real while it lasts. We deny it, saying permanence is a criterion of reality. Some argue, though divisible and split up into parts, the world we know so well, how could it be unreal? We refute it, saying, wholeness, too, is a criterion of reality. The wise can never deem as real the world divided and destroyed by time's wheel. Whole, eternal, perfect, ever shining and transcending time and space, such is the nature of reality. Shiva, eternal, peace serene, perfect, common to all alike, is the one sole reality. The evils in the world are concepts formed by the false scattered knowledge of the divided mind. The worlds have no being apart from awareness, which is but the self. It is nescience, dense and dark, which makes the body-bound ego see the world of names and forms as alien. Mind of mine, wearied and worn out by the world's ways, search hard henceforth, discover and weigh well and speak the truth. Whatever is perceived by the false body's senses, how could it be real and not false? The world perceived by the poor jiva lapsed from its own true being, buried in darkness and believing that it is but the body. Alas, this world, thus seen, is non-existent. Yes, it is indeed unreal. The goings-on of the empirical world, true seeming and beguiling the mind's borrowed light, are nothing but illusions in the bright light of pure awareness. Allurement of the world. How piteous is the spectacle of people wandering in the world's ways, aimless, frisky like a goat's beard, and chafing at the discipline that leads to permanent freedom. One wonders why they plow with thought and toil so hard to cultivate the treacherous field of sense, hankering for a tiny grain of pleasure, neglecting the heart whence thought arises, the nursery ready to reward with plenty a little labor of love. For the lady mind, the wedded wife of the radiant sun god self, to forsake the joys of light and go astray seeking the deep darkness of the world, what is it but the frenzied folly of infidelity? The real bliss of mukti cannot come unless the world's allurement disappears. To try to thrust reality into the world, a mere appearance, is mere folly, like an infatuated lover foisting chastity upon a prostitute. Aridity of the world. Only mad folk, perplexed because they deem the false world to be real, find joy in this illusion. The truly wise find joy in nothing but awareness, which is being. Those, well established in the self, true being, will never pursue the world's vile ways, for such descent into the false allurements of the world is yielding to the animal weakness for sense pleasure. What does one gain, you well may ask, by giving up the wealth immense of worldly pleasure and seeking only mere awareness? The benefit of true awareness is the unbroken prevalence of peace within the heart, the bliss of one's own natural being. Not in one single thing on earth can happiness be found. How could the muddled mind delude itself and think that happiness can be derived from objects in this world? Fond, foolish people may find joy and pleasure at the moment. Soon it palls and leaves but pain behind. Jivas suffer in the hot, dry desert of the world, the dream born out of the whirling vasanas old. Shady refuge from the triple fire of desire raging here, they find beneath the spreading Bodhi tree Turiya, self-awareness. Playing one's roles in the world. Knowing your own true identity and ever in the heart abiding as the self-supreme alone. Play perfectly your human role, tasting every pain and pleasure in common with all creatures. Though after examining everything they have attained the ultimate truth, the wise put on no strange behavior. Therefore let your outward conduct conform to that of your own people. Illusory appearance. Lord Ramana has, to reassure us, mercifully revealed Vivarta as a true tenet, setting aside all other doctrines. All that the mind perceives once lay buried within the heart. Know well that names and forms are an old tale retold, old latent vasanas now becoming manifest. The self becomes itself the world, of multitudinous names and forms, Hence, it is not a mere efficient cause which creates, preserves, and then destroys the world. Don't ask, how did this error arise? Why this ignorance that the self itself is the world transformed? Seek rather and find out to whom this happened, and the error will persist no more. What is the self's self-transformation as the world? A coil of straw appearing as a snake? Look hard. You see no snake at all. There is no transformation, no creation, none. No world at all. Consider well. A thought it is that from itself creates a snake form, sustains it, fears it, and at last when full light comes, destroys it. Seed, sprout, and plant in sequence coming seem to be the same, and yet the effect seems to destroy and so replace the cause. The contradiction twixt one and many, change and sameness, is but the mind's conception. The self is all true being awareness. The world perceived as other is but a perverse misunderstanding. The rope itself, being the seer. Awareness, would it see some being other than itself, some snake? Did the self lapse from its own wholeness as being, you ask? How else did this world come to be? It came from ignorance faults. The self can never suffer any change at any time. Experiencing the unbroken oneness of pure space, one sees no separate pot at all. From the seeming movement of the seeming pot, it is folly to infer some movement of the space within the pot. In plentitude of self-awareness, body and world as other than self are seen no more. Because of their apparent changes, it is folly to say that the self is mutable. Vast, whole, immutable, the self reflected in the mind's distorting mirror may appear to move. Know that it is the image moving. The true self never moves or changes. How can the dark, delusive sense of separateness affect the self which is non-dual? It is the mind's divisive vision which sees difference. Awareness knows no separateness at all. From true being, infinite awareness, the jiva cannot, as an I, a separate self, arise. It is only from a separate flame, conceptually cut off, that sparks can fly and fill the universe. Only the mind, by Maya's might deluded, and looking outward sees the body. The true self knows no body. To call the self of pure awareness the body's owner or indweller is an error. It is only when the I functions as the body that the world of moving and unmoving objects appears out there. In the absence of another, to call the self a witness is an error. Without the body, the world is not. Without the mind, the body is not. Without awareness, there is no mind. And without being, there is no awareness. Doctrine of no creation. To meet the needs of various seekers, Master Rama did expound various doctrines, but we have heard him say that his true teaching, firmly based on his own experience, is a Jatavada, the doctrine of no birth or creation. The self is immutable. Birth, death, and the world process are all appearances. This true supreme alone is what the world revealed to Arjuna at first. But finding his friend's mind bewildered, reeling, Krishna later spoke of other doctrines. Why diverse theories of creation? By their diverse cosmogonies, what do the holy books intend? Not telling how the world began, but starting the inquiry. What is true being, the primal cause of this world appearance? Part played by God. The self unchanging hidden behind Maya throws up into the mind's sky the strong rope of the three states, mounted on which the jiva plays his tricks, sustained by what he knows not. The God Supreme, who gave to Maya her sovereignty, appears to us poor extroverts as if himself were subject to the treacherous tricks which she, with his permission, plays. Him all beings obey means only that they behave as various beings, sentient and insentient. Stir, move, and act in the mere presence of the thought-free sun arisen in the heavens. In the mere presence of eternal sun, the lodestone spits out fire, the lotus bud blossoms, the water lily closes, and all creatures move or rest according to their nature. From his mere potent presence flows his fivefold function. As the needle near the magnet trembles, beneath the moon and the moonstone exudes water, the lotus blossoms and the water lily closes. In the sheer presence of the Lord, himself free from all trace of thought, jivas set out on numerous paths of action, work away and wearied, turn inward and return to freedom. The goings-on in the world do not affect the sun. The properties of earth, water, fire, and air touch not the infinite ether. Even so, men's actions do not reach or move the mind-transcending Lord Supreme.